spend a little time working on version 2.0 today. I have the 6x6 that was in my shed over there. You can't see it because of the glare. It does have some splitting in it. I'm gonna rip two 2x6s off of it, so I should be all right as far as the splitting part goes. So this is the idea. The drawing's kind of bunk, but there's our 2x6, and then those dotted areas, I'm just gonna take that section out and I'm gonna make that as a track. I had to play with some numbers to get it all to fit, and I'm still gonna have to figure out the phone placement because I think I'm gonna change it from last time and space them out. But I'm just gonna try to get a little bit of this done today. So this is where I'm starting. Hopefully this makes it a little bit more user-friendly when I need to do any updating or servicing on the phones, and I'm not trying to like stick my fingers in there and to turn off the screens or whatever. But this is where we're starting. So we got them out of one piece because it was long enough, so I just had to rip once. My saw wasn't deep enough, so I had to use a sawzall in the middle, and I kind of screwed up a little bit, but just a prototype, it should be fine. So this is what we got here. We're gonna go 3 rows just to leave ourselves a little extra space, and those cross sections are gonna be what I cut out. So what I'll do is I'll set my blade depth. It sucks, I'm right in the middle of a knot, but I'm gonna work with it. I'll set my blade depth at 5/8, and I'll rip them both pieces, and then I'll chisel that out all the way on all 3 of them, and that'll give me my track for the phone bed to slide in and out. So it should make it quite a bit more functional. It'll also leave a little bit more room. The profits are good on the fan running, so I'm not too concerned about stuffing as many as I can in there. I'm looking at different options for fans, something that doesn't have a box, or maybe I'll strip down take the fans and the motors out of the box and mount them separately. But I'm not 100% sure yet. I'd like to have something with a metal cage if I'm gonna have one that's not white, but maybe I'll just get black fans. So that's where we're at. So I'll chisel that out, and then I gotta build the tracks, the drawer, I guess we'd call it. But pretty simple. Once I figured out the measurements, wasn't too bad. I did all that last night on paper. That's what all this scribble is here. Just trying to figure out what, because before I had them at 4 1/4 from the bottom of the track to the bottom of the next track was 4 1/4. This time I'm at 5 5/8, and that uses up the whole space. I left these a little long, but this is where the top of the phone should sit, and then I got 2.5 inches, and then I'll probably put a top plate going across, just 2x4 or something, give it some stability. And also that should pretty much enclose in the fan, like keep the air in a tunnel of sorts. But all right, that's it for now, so I'm gonna keep moving. Got these parts done. Turned out pretty nice. The one with a knot in it, it's got a couple little defects, but I kind of like it actually. It looks kind of cool from the front. It's not gonna hurt anything anyways. So what I ended up doing was just taking my measurements and then setting my depth of my saw at 5/8, ripped, cut a whole bunch of lines, like 6, 7, 5, something. And then I just broke it with my screwdriver, and then just chiseled it smooth. I just tried to make it a little smooth so that it doesn't like have anything to hang up on, and it turned out pretty good. This spot where I messed up my cut, that was a little high. I just had to make sure I was a little deeper because it's gonna change the depth for that. But on a good piece of wood, I mean, that you're not splitting in half, you wouldn't have any of these problems. So next, I'm gonna have to build the trays, like the drawers. I guess we're just gonna call them drawers, right? Like the drawers that the phones will sit on. And I'm gonna add, I think what I'm gonna do for my power blocks is I'm just gonna take a 7-inch piece of 2x4, flush it up on the front side. It'll stick off 3.5 inches and then just go straight back. So it'll sit it'll sit like that. And there'll be a 2x4 sticking out on 3 tiers so that I can just set the power block there and then run my cords that way towards the phones. Everything turned out pretty good. If you're gonna do something like this, you know, if you had a table saw, it'd be a lot nicer, but if you don't, you know, just take your time and it'll be fine. I mean, I got like probably like an hour into this right now, hour and 15 minutes, so it's not terrible with just basic hand tools. I mean, I'm just using this circular saw as my bench like that, this circular saw, and then I got a chisel, my grandfather's. So I'm lucky enough to have a chisel, but if you don't have a chisel, I mean, you can get a chisel pretty cheap, but you could also probably do it with a screwdriver. It wasn't like it was a ton of work. It was just sharpen up a screwdriver and you could probably do the same thing. But I'm gonna start working on those other pieces. We'll see what I get done today. Last time I was pushing it a little far. I was tired when I started and I built the whole thing and I was just getting a little sloppy at the end because I was tired and I should have just waited, but I'm glad it didn't matter because I knew it was just gonna be the first version. I'm gonna try to think of a better way to cut the slots for like these slots for the phones. I probably could reuse the old pieces if I wanted. I'm gonna go measure them and see if I can reuse them. Maybe I'll just reuse the old ones to save time, and then all I'll have to do is cut a small 1.5 inch piece to add as a filler in between the 2 tray bottoms. And then I'm thinking about putting so it'll sit like this, right? And then I was thinking about notching right here. Look at this junk everywhere. Motors, I have 2 cars in this garage. Audi over there against the wall, another Audi in the bins, BMW, a bunch of trannies. I part out cars on the side. So I was thinking, so here's the tray. It'll be from here to here is 4.5 inches. I don't know if there's enough wood there, but I was thinking I could, let's get this focus. I was thinking I could put this out and put the little U pieces that the phones sit in, put one on the top, just so that the phones had something to sit in to guide themselves in and out, so they stayed perfectly straight, like for different thicknesses. But it's not like a terrible concern right now. I mean, took a phone out yesterday, an LG G8 that has no back on it. I just took the back off of it. It's like a glass back to test it. I took the phone out in front of the fan. The phone was so cold, I thought the phone was off, and I went through and rechecked all my programming. So, I mean, this is just working phenomenally, and we're just like at the infancy of like its potential right now. So I don't think we'll have any issues, but you know, just little things that like aesthetically pleasing that I'm just trying to think about. But again, this is probably not going to be the final version of this, so I'm not too concerned. I'm just going to put this together. The idea is to put this together, do a test run, and then see what little things I'm like, oh, this could be better because my cords are rubbing here, or whatever, you know. So that's just the idea. So I'm gonna keep chipping away on it, start putting drawers together, and then we'll see how it comes out. Oh, real quick what I did here. So I knew right now the current one's about 18 inches from the outside of the phones, which is a pretty good number. So I'm gonna stick with that, but on this time I added some distance between the outside edge and the 2x6 that we're gonna use for our outside, and then we added our 5/8 for the depth of our track. So on this one also, I added a 1/2 inch space between each phone instead of the 3/8 I had last time. That gave me 22 phones per power block, which is, I was thinking 20, but 22 is going to be okay. And now with the power blocks mounted on the side, I will have 2 extra ports that I can run computer fans underneath them just to cool them. So that's what I'm going to do. It's very simple. All I do is just cut the line the X is going. Let me find a better picture. The X is going, so I just cut that line, and then I'll cut this line here, and then I just stick my screwdriver in there like this on the solid wood side, and I just go bink, bink, and then that's it. Pops right out. And then I just clean it up a little bit. Another thing I learned on the last one, and that I was aware of when I cut this piece of wood, as you can see over here, there was a knot, so I cut it in between two knots. So you can see the knots there. I made sure that I had enough wood in between the knots because the knots are kind of a pain. Did I already cut that one off? Yeah. So the knots are kind of a pain to pry out, so I was just aware of that. So out of this piece, last time I made the top shelves 1 inch thick, and I'm not going to do that this time. I'm going to make them a 1/2 inch, just like the bottom ones. There's no need for it to be so thick. It's just a waste, really. And then I should be able to get 1/2 inch, so I'll be able to get 6 out of this, because I'm going to lose 1/8 for a saw blade. So 5 or 6. Hopefully I get 6. We'll see though. I came up with a different way to cut them too, because you got to be careful of these breaking and getting a straight cut. So this time I'm going to make up a little jig to cut them off. Just screw it down to a piece of wood and then just screw 2x4s next to it so I have a bigger surface. But I'll show you that more when the time comes. It was just something I learned in the last one. Anyways, I'm going to cut these all out now, and then I'm going to set up my jig. The plates cut. I'm just got to rip them tomorrow. Rip them into my pieces. I originally thought I was going to be able to get all 6 out of here, but I think I'm going to make another one or just recycle the other pieces if I can for the top shelf, because I want to cut a couple of these really thin and try to use them and notch these out and put a bracket in, put one of those in there and see how it works for guiding the phones. They'll be stationary as like a top plate. So you'll have, you know, the phones will be sliding in and out on this track, and then somewhere in here I'll notch out a plate for the phones just so they just stand up straight. It's kind of hard to visualize maybe, but I'm about done for the day though. Turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the craftsmanship. Could have been a little straighter on some of my cuts, but it's all right. The tracks turned out like perfect though. It's just what I wanted. So they're just pretty smooth. That one might be a little funky because of those knots, but other than that, they should be relatively smooth. I just did 1.5 inches heavy, so 1.5 inches, 1 9/16, and then I took the line. And I just ran the saw blade right down the line. So that gave me like just enough room in between there to make it work. Got everything cleaned up, and that's it for the day. What I did was I intentionally left this one with the grooves, cut the notches in it long. I pre-drilled holes on this, and then I just screwed it in on the end. And then I just mounted it to this 2x10. A 2x8? No, it looks like a 2x10. And I just screwed boards to it all the way down. That way, when I get, so I can use a guide plate and not have so I can have a straight cut. But last time I cut them, I can only cut one with the guide plate, and I had to freehand the other 2, and it gave me a crooked cut. So this will give me the full straight cuts all the way down. Cut, which I'm going to take the line, so it'll give me a 3/8 inch sliver here, which will be pretty small. So this will be a test one to see if these can withstand that little cut. But then I just moved over on my saw. I have my mark, my guide mark is 1.5 inches from the end. So I just added 1/2, so I moved it in 2 inches, 1/2 plus 1.5 inches, 2 inches. And then on the next one, I'll have to move it over 1.5 inches again, and then just keep doing that. I don't have a clamp big enough, so I just screwed this side. But it'll do the trick. So I'll cut all of these. Each time I'll just move it over 1 inch, or I'll move the track over 1/2 inch, and that'll give me 1/2 inch pieces. Kind of a pain. There's definitely an easier way to do this if you have a table saw. But I don't have a table saw here, so this is the way we're doing it. If it breaks, we'll have another clip here in a second. If it doesn't break, then I'll cut them all. very high success rate. I could have gotten one more out of that if I had a table saw. If you have a table saw, you could have done it. I didn't want to risk hitting my saw blade against a screw. It's the only saw blade I have here, and I don't feel like destroying it. It's brand new. Well, relatively new. So I got them all cut. Now I'm gonna go measure everything one more time. Make sure before I cut my lengths on this and my height on this, that is just perfect. And so I don't have to make any more adjustments. And then I'll start putting together the drawers. I think that's what I said I was calling them, drawers? I don't remember. Anyways, drawers. Start putting them together. So far, it's looking pretty damn good, though. I'm pretty happy with it. Like, let's see here. So I almost forgot about my setup for my power blocks. So this is what I'm going with. I just got 2 computer fans. I bought a box of them like a couple years ago. So I have like 20 of these things. I was just doing some testing with them. I got a great deal. Like with the aluminum heat sinks, I think I paid like 36 bucks for them or something, and then like 20 bucks for shipping. I got 50 bucks. I got like 250, or no, $3 into each one. I don't remember, something like that. But anyways, put a little air port in there, screwed them down. That's the width of the power block. So then those will just mount like this on the side here. And then that should help for now until I come up with a better idea for that. The power blocks are the biggest problem I'm facing right now, is like how to mount them. So I'm just gonna keep playing with it and see. This one obviously has a knot in it, so I'm gonna do 1 on this side in the middle, and then I'll do 2 on this side. That'll break it up a little bit so they're not all 3 on top of each other. But I put the fans on there because they're not gonna be in front of the fan, and I want them to be cooled. So the extra ports I'm gonna use on my power block, I'm gonna use to power these. I'm just gonna wire these 2 together and put a plug on them. All right, I'm gonna keep going though. Just put them on there. I used the screws that came off of the heat sinks. I saved them. I knew I was saving them for a reason, and worked out well. So just make sure if you do something like this, you know which direction your fans are blowing. I'm using them to push air, so I got them set up like this. But why is this camera not focusing? But yeah, it was pretty simple. Just cut it out, and then that'd be perfect. This one has a bunch of knots in it, so it turned out super funky. But overall, pretty simple. I only have the 2 power blocks right now, so once I get a 3rd one here, it'll be ready to go. Which I probably should order one of these already. Yeah, I should probably just order one now, because I pretty much need it. That wasn't so bad. It took a little bit of time, you know, like 45 minutes, an hour or something, but at least they'll be cool. Should help a little. It was just after sight. I wasn't gonna do this. I was really just gonna stick them on there, and then I realized I could put the fans, cut it out, and I was like, yeah, might as well. But all right, now I gotta start putting it together. I had a pencil in my mouth. Here's the shell. So originally I wanted to put these cross braces down here like this and box it in, but I noticed that my cut on the top is a little bit off because I'm doing it with the handsaw and I didn't catch it. So I just mounted them to the back. Should be fine. Top of the phones is right here, so there's still room to breathe. Not ideal, but this top of the fan anyways doesn't really have much air movement. That's why I wanted to make sure I stopped at the 18-inch mark, because that's about the threshold for like you can feel air moving. But it feels pretty good as far as like the drawers. I added a little bit 1/8 inch just so I had some play in there. This is the worst one with that knot, but still goes in there smooth. So should do it. That's an experiment, learning. Obviously, I'm using old junky materials and not the proper tooling, so. But it's working out so far. Feels sturdy. It's not going anywhere. I mean, I can move it if I want to, I guess. Maybe I'll put just a small leg like this, and then if I do that, it won't go anywhere. All right, I'm gonna start putting it together more. See how we finish out here. put a leg on it because it's pretty sturdy. I mean, it's got a little bit of rock to it. Could be my cuts that I was talking about though. But I moved the power block things are up in the air right now, but I'm gonna try them there. I moved them down farther than I thought I was gonna put them, just because that's where I was thinking about it. The way the wiring is gonna be, I don't want them to be like too high. So we're gonna move it down there. They might even need to go, those two on the outside that are off the ground might even need to go lower. We'll play with that though later. First, this most important is get the shelves functioning, make sure it's usable. I'm still not even convinced I'm gonna mount the power blocks like this. I gotta give it some thought and just keep playing with it and seeing what is just like feels the most fluid when I'm working. I've been thinking about some ideas for routing wiring and then maybe moving them external away from it a little bit. I got 3 foot of wire right now on each one. It's the most common charging cable length is like 3 foot. So if I could come up with a way to keep them maybe stretched out even now that I got the fans on them, and I could just have the wire nice and tight along the box itself. But it's a good start. So we're gonna see. That one looks like it's crooked, but it squares out, so I don't know. Could be the 2x4 too, is jacked. Anyways, I'm gonna keep going, and this is where we're at. See if I can get it without getting too close here. I mean, it works pretty good. It's not obviously the smoothest, but with 2 hands is actually quite smooth. There we go. It's quite smooth. So I think though, I mean, this one was a little funky. My saw is cutting a little bit crooked. I looked at the track to make sure it wasn't bent or anything, but still, it could just be I'm cutting these little ass pieces too, trying to like hold it perfectly level and I'm screwing it up. But yeah, as long as you keep it straight, I mean, it goes in and out. Obviously, you have to be careful of if you pull it out too far, but I don't see why I would be doing that. So now I gotta make more of these for the top one. Now that I'm thinking about it with the racks and stuff, I'm like, wonder if I should have went with four rows. But that's, again, this is why this is version 2.0. The final version, maybe I have to make another one, hopefully not. But hopefully maybe the final version will, I'll have everything worked out. But I'm looking at it and I was like, man, I could probably, with the shelves pulling out like that, getting 4 in there wouldn't be a real issue. But we'll see. So far, this is where we're at. I'm gonna try to reuse, I'm gonna go up, I forgot to measure it earlier. I'm gonna go up there and measure these and see if I can't reuse one off of the other one. My other rack, I'm gonna turn into a problem phone rack. So all the phone with charging issues. And then I'm probably just gonna lay them flat. I don't have that many of them, but just somewhere to put them all in one place. So that way those ones could like lay, all of them need to be laying in like a weird position to get them to charge. Once they're charging, they're fine, but that way I'm aware of them, and then when I'm doing like pulling drawers out, I'm not screwing up the chargers, not realizing they're not charging. But so far it looks all right. They'll do the job, that's for damn sure. We'll see how it is though. So this is it. I'm gonna start swapping the phones over to the shelves, and then I'm gonna reuse 2 of these ones. I'm not gonna remake them, even though these ones only got 22 phones on it. I'm not gonna remake them because I know this isn't the final project. So I'm not gonna waste any more wood when I could just cut these ones down, these racks, and I'll make those work for now. It'll be fine. So then I can start doing the wiring. Tonight I'm gonna wire up the plugs for the power blocks. And then that's about it. And then by tomorrow I'll have an update for you guys about how it worked out, how it feels once I get some testing under my belt. So I think on the final version, I'm gonna make it out of 1/8 inch aluminum. I've had this piece of aluminum for fucking ever. I used it for all kinds of straight edges, brackets, I don't even know, I've had this thing forever. But I think I'm gonna make these end pieces out of 1/8 inch aluminum like that. But I'm gonna get the right size, of course. But I have a guy that's local that has 3-inch pieces that are 60 inches long. And he's got like 60 of them. So I might just go there and buy them all for 300 bucks. And then I'll have a bunch of extra material, and then I'll just rip them down the middle. Or maybe I'll just take them somewhere and have them see water jet cut or something. I don't know. I'm gonna figure it out. But yep, that's it. So I'm gonna get this set up. We're gonna give her a run. I mean, look at how much better that looks than the little guy over there. The more I look at this though, I'm like, man, should I have put 4 rows on it? Or am I just pinching pennies, you know, by doing that? I do like the way it looks with a little more space. We'll see how it feels. We'll see how it looks when it's in front of the fan, and if we get any improvements, maybe there's heat that, you know, maybe we don't know yet. So we'll see once maybe there's a heat issue that will be addressed, that'll be fix itself that I didn't even know I had. They'll run a little cooler or something. Anyways, I'm just rambling now. So I'm gonna get that stuff switched up. I'm gonna load this video today, and then if you guys like the video, please leave a comment, or like the video, leave a comment. I'm gonna keep chipping away, coming up with creative ideas to make this thing fit. I'm gonna see how many phones I can fit in this room eventually. Probably gonna have to end up running air conditioning, but all right, my phone's ringing. You guys have a good day.